So number one plug, or the first plug on this side, is here. And if I come over here and look at the plug, the number one, the first plug is here. So the first one here, the other one here. So this should be number one. So that makes my theory, out the window. Well, if I can remember how to open this thing, there we go. It's got a little pushy doodah. Goes that way, like that. Okay, we're gonna start with number one cylinder because that's what the thing says, number one cylinder. And I'm not really sure how this thing comes off. You know, it's probably just pops off because I don't see any screws. Probably have to take this off because it's, you know, thin. So maybe just give it a yank. Oh yeah, that was. There we go. Doesn't look any different. It's got that big plenum, and this just covers it up. It doesn't look a whole lot easier to work on. But, you know, we'll deal. Number one, I believe, the way to tell is V8s are not exactly even. You know what I mean? If you were to draw a straight line across the front of the engine, one side of the engine would be forward more and the other side would be back a little more. Usually, it's this side that's coming forward. And in this one, it's really hard to tell because there's so much crap here. Okay? And I don't know where the engine starts and the engine begins, so I may have to go into a book to find out which one's number one. But we're going to look at the injectors. Here's the coils. I guess these are the coils. Here's one, here's two, there's three on the coils. So number one plug, or the first plug on this side, is here. And if I come over here and look at the plug, the number one, the first plug is here. So the first one here, the other one here. So this should be number one. So that makes my theory, out the window. But so I'm going to guess this is the one that's further forward, for sure. So I'm going to guesstimate that this one over here is number one cylinder. So let me reposition the whole camera thing because that way you can see what I'm doing. And I might even try to, you know, set the camera up here because it won't be in my way here. And that way I won't be tripping on it and y'all will get a bird's eye view of what I got going on in here. And I'll try to put some light on the subject too. Alright, so bear with me. I am not a modern kind of guy, modern car kind of guy. I like them. Some of them are very cool. There's some really fast ones. Working on them. Yeah, I'm kind of old school, guys. So we're going to do our best to make this a learnable experience for all of us. Here we go. I'm going to pull number one, see what she looks like. First thing I'm going to tackle is this fuel. I'm pretty sure this is fuel. And I don't have any idea how it comes off. So, I've got my glasses on because when I was working on another car, I didn't have glasses on and I was messing with the fuel and I ended up with a bunch of gas in my eyes. So, taking a pretty darn good look at this thing. And it's got like a, I don't got like a little hooky doodah, and it just pushes on, so it's definitely a fuel line. And from what I can see, it just has this little doohickey here which stops it from coming off, and it's got an O-ring on there too, I'm sure. It may be under a lot of pressure, so I don't really want to wear this thing. Well, I'm not really moving it as much as I'd like to. There we go. Oh, there we go. So maybe I'll show you a close-up of that so you can see what I was talking about. No, it didn't seem like it had any pressure on it, but let me give you a close-up of that. Alright, you can see what it is, and this little piece here just pushes that away, and you just get it out the way and it just popped right off. Just to prove that I have no idea what I'm doing, I was looking for a Schrader valve. Almost all high pressure systems have a Schrader valve. If you don't know what a Schrader valve is, it's basically what you use to put air in your tire. Well, here it is. I found it after the fact. I'm lucky I didn't get a face full of gas. You unscrew this little cap, and basically it's just like a tire valve. It's got a little stem in there. You push on that stem and it'll relieve all the pressure in the system. And I found it because after I pulled this off, I followed the line and it went boop right to it. And so this is definitely the fuel line. I guess this car, the fuel line tends to depressurize after you shut it off, which is probably a good thing. Either that or something screwed up. I'm not sure which. But anyway, I think I see some fuel rails inside underneath this plenum. So this is probably the cold start. So when you first start the engine up when it's cold, this thing, the fact that it's dry makes me wonder if that isn't part of our problem. Because that really should have had some gas in it. But anyway, so that might be, because she does run better once she's running, but then again, I'm only missing on number 1 cylinder, so this would cause worse things than that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take the rest of the plenum off. There's a screw here, here, and a couple of small plugs here and there. This thing, I think, just pulls straight out. We're just going to be real gentle with it, because we don't want to be buying parts if we don't have to, you know? So we're just going to gently put some pressure on it with my hand and pry it with the screwdriver. And it's not wanting to come out. Oh, there we go. Oh, okay, so it's an O-ring. I have no idea what that does, but it's got an O-ring on it. Let's hope that's not damaged. Okay, probably could have taken that screw off first, and that would have given me a little more leeway, but don't know what it does, but it's got an O-ring, so we'll lube that O-ring up a little before we put it back on. And then we're going to do the same thing with this one over here. Figure this is worth showing. This plug here, you have to pull this little piece out, okay, and then what that does is it allows you to push on this little lever right here, and then that little lever will release this so you can pop it out. So you got to pull this out. It just pulls out, and then press this, and then it just slides right out. Got a ratchet, and yep, it won't go. So can't get that one. Now that one's a little fat, so let me see if I got a smaller ratchet and see if I can get that. Nope, got nothing. So we're doing it one turn at a time. Here we go. And I'll just do a time lapse on this because, you know, it's going to take 930 turns to get this thing out of here, and there's no sense in you sitting there watching that. I don't know if y'all can see this or not, but this is my case in point. Engineers do things on purpose just to piss people off. Just no lie. Because I got to get this bolt out. If you watch my hand, as I'm trying to get this bolt out, there's a stud sticking out right here. And it's jamming into the old knuckles while I'm doing this. There's absolutely no reason for that to be there other than to piss off a mechanic. You know? But, yep, she's just jamming into my knuckle. I don't, you know, I used to say the Japanese cars used to do that just to, you know, because Americans, they'd be like, watch American try to get his big hand in there. Ah ha ha, he can cut it all to pieces. Right? Yeah, but this is an American car. So why are they trying to cut us up? That's just crazy. But anyway, taking this screw out because it's holding this fuel line in place. And it's got to come out so that we can get the plenum off. Can't get sockets in there, so I've been using these little swivelly dobbies here. Of course, this one's going to give me trouble. Maybe. Nope, I got it. I could have used this method again. I'd prefer not to. But yeah, we're getting there. A lot of these plugs and things, you don't have to unplug because they're just hooked to the plenum because they had no place else to hook them. And I don't know what I'm going to get into once I get underneath this thing. Because, like you, I'm learning right now. You know, you'll get to learn by my mistakes so that when you get into this mess, you know, you won't have the troubles that I'm having. Should mark your bolts. I didn't. So that's now on this one, I'm not even sure that's part of the plenum now that I think about it. I can't tell. Might be easier to just unplug this one before I go breaking stuff. We've got another. Oh, the plenum, she's loose. Look at that. She's loose. And yep, that's moving with her. So I'm going to unplug this. There's another one in the back here. I'm going to unplug that because I don't want to mess with that if I don't have to. That's already off. This is loose, so I don't have to take this bracket off. I just popped a little plastic clip on that. So let me finish taking this lovely one out that I saved till last, and then we'll pull this plenum off. Just for the FYI, I got that bolt. It's very long, so it got to the point where I couldn't get this in here anymore. But I got this because it brought the nut up above the top of the plenum. So I got a 13 millimeter. This is a flexi wrench, but you could have used a regular wrench. Just finish it off with that. Now there's still one wire way in the back I've got to unplug. And I'm going to try to pick this plenum up. And this thing's a humdinger, let me tell you. Oh, she's still in there a little bit. Come on, dude. My hamstrings are screaming right now because I'm leaning so far over this thing. So if any of y'all are work out and you want a good workout, just lean over this hood for a while. And look, she ain't gonna come out. No matter what you do. So that's gonna have to come out with the plenum. Let me clean off all my tools, get all these nuts and bolts out of here, and see if this thing will slide off of here. Here's another wonderful thing. There's a bracket. It looks like it's just a little bracket to hold the wire, but it's not. It actually goes down to the engine somewhere. And this stops this from coming out. There's a screw there with one of those little pins. And in order to get it out, I've got to kind of get this plenum to go underneath it. If I can, and if I can't, then I'm going to have to move that bracket somehow. Well, and there's a big screw right here that's probably going to make that happen. So see, you know, nothing's as simple as it looks. It looks like just unscrew that and you're good. But this bracket, I believe, goes to a big nut right under here. And I got to take that out. And that's probably like 18 millimeter. All right. 18 M&Ms, a wiggle woggle, and my impact. This one's got a little light on it so I can see what I'm doing. Get her on there and let her go. Oh, and it's like 9 miles long. Tell me why you need a bolt that long to hold that bracket. Just explain that to me. My guess is it probably does something. So if I don't put it back, we're going to have problems. So she'll go back as much as I don't want to put her back. Now, let's see if this thing will come off. Now, kind of, sort of, it's still hitting something. She's a coming though. I don't know what's going on. She's still attached to something. It's not that, or is it that? Let's see. Yep, she's attached to a piece of wire right there. And then I have something stopping me back here. Oh, that's just beautiful. Nope, not really. I got this far enough forward to get this bolt out of the way. Yes. Ah, yay. Okay. So all that's left, I think, is that piece over there that I said I wasn't going to take out until I got myself a little bit of room. So let's take a look-see. Yeah. No, that's not holding me up at all. Something else is. Trying to see what it might be. I don't see anything. Bolts. This is not helping. It didn't want to come out, so I didn't pull it out, but it's hanging up. Probably going to tear the gaskets. Okay, so let's take this out. I'll just do that on another frame. Alright. Got all of that done. Now we just got to get this piece of wire off of here. Let's take a look at it, see what it says. Got a little push down doodah here. And it doesn't want to push down, of course. But if we can push it down, it will release. And then just pull it off. Screwdriver, see if we can't push it down. It's nice to know that somebody uses more zip ties than me. Evidently Cadillac does. They got a zip tie holding this wiring harness in here. Which I'm okay with that. Because, you know, zip ties make it pretty easy to pop things out. So I think we got her now. Oh, there we go. Uh-oh. Not happy at all. This may or may not be fixable. Yeah, I'm just going to say not. Kind of trashed it because I left that bolt in the way and she was causing some issues. But yep, here's my fuel rail and my injectors. And here's my plugs. Now, they're super easy to get to anyway. But I'm going to have to go in the house and see if I can't order a plenum gasket for this girl, because this one's kind of foobarred. I mean, I can fix it if I have to, but I don't want to take a chance, so we're going to see if I can get one coming. Once you get this far, it's pretty easy. Now, what I'm going to do on these bolts is I'm going to put some anti-seize on them when it comes down to time for that. Now, here's my injectors. This is my #1 injector. When I pull this plug out, I'm going to look at the plug and see what the plug tells me. Because it's been misfiring, it's probably going to have a little gas on it. What I'm hoping to find is just a bunch of crap, you know, worn out, just needing replacing. That would tell me it just simply needed a plug. If it's all gas fouled, then there's a good chance that this injector is bleeding, and just putting a very impure, instead of a nice spray, it's just dripping, you know, and it's just fouling the plug out. I'm hoping that is not the case. I'm hoping when I pull this out, the air intake on #1 here looks a little rich. It's really, you'll see, like, this one's really clean, that one's fairly clean, but this one is kind of dirty. You know, so I'm starting to think It might be the injector, which makes me very unhappy. So we're gonna go ahead and take this one plug out, and we're gonna see what it looks like. And well, you know, that'll tell us everything. But I'm not liking the looks of that injector. We're going to do these one at a time so that things don't get all mixed up, shall we say. Man, this thing, they go a little overboard on the fasteners here. Good heavens to Murgatroyd. This thing's like 9 miles long. And I got a new plenum gasket coming, so we don't need that. Alright, well, maybe I do need that just in case they bring me the wrong one. But I'm hoping I don't have to call them back and tell them to get me an injector, because that's going to hold up the entire works. Now we pull that bolt out of here, and we just kind of pull this loose. And yeah, it's got this little guard here. It's going to fight us. Oh, maybe I should just unplug it, that would be easier. So, oops, my glasses are falling into the abyss. So let me get over here and see how this comes off. Golly, what in the tarnation? How in God's green earth does that even work? It's got... Jeepers, what? Somebody tell me what's going on with this thing. That just doesn't make any sense. What, wait a minute, I see something going on here. Oh, wait a minute, does that go that way? Oh, wait a minute. Oh. Yeah, see, if you screw with something long enough, you can figure it out. So that pulls out that way, and then this doesn't come off. So maybe there's more to it. I don't know. Does it come out, or does it just pull back? I don't know. Ugh. I think it has to come out somehow, but I don't see how. It's got a little... Let's try it again. Is it coming? Ow. Kind of prickly there. Digging into the old fingers. Come on, baby. Can I pry it off now? Is it just sticky? Nope, it's still hanging up in there, so let's try it this way. Oop, that didn't sound good. Oh, there we go. Okay, you just gotta pull it until it makes a little clicky noise, and then that comes loose. Well, I don't like the looks of that. Does that one have that? Nope. Whoop. I don't know what that's all about. It looks like scratches in the top here. I don't know if that's anything. Could be the coil that's misfiring. That's always a possibility. So let's take a look and see what the plug says, and we will go from there. You're going to need a long extension, a spark plug wrench, and a ratchet, of course. And then we're going to have to go in here, and of course they put this, you know, support rod right in your face so that it's in the way. And we're just going to gently pull this out. I don't like the way that feels. Anytime, folks, when you put a plug into an aluminum head, or any head for that matter, you got to put anti-seize. I don't know if these people did. It felt a little scary when I first started here, but it's okay now. But yeah, you want to put anti-seize on the plug because it'll mate together and you'll never get it out. Now these aren't too bad because of the way they're designed. You could probably get in there and drill that out. But you don't, trust me, you don't want to do that if you don't have to. Oh, remember that thing I was saying for the Schrader? There it is. There's no way you could get to that. This one was just for the cold start. There's the one for the actual fuel rails. So if I was going to work on the fuel rail, which you'd have to take the plenum off anyway, then I would go ahead and depressurize those. So if we end up doing that injector, we'll get into that. But let's see what we got. Oh, here she goes. Now spark plug wrench or spark plug, ooh, doesn't look too bad. Ooh, things might be good here. Happiness is starting to ooze from my face. You know what that means, right? That means I'm smiling. If you smile or laugh, that's just happiness leaking out of your head. But let me put my glasses on so I can see what's going on. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but if you look at this plug, okay, yeah, this is not the best camera for close-ups, that's for sure. And then you look at this plug. Okay, for one, the gap is hugely different. Okay, this one's just plain worn out. If you take a good look at it, you probably can't, but you can just see the electrode's okay, or the strap, I guess, the ground strap. But there's a lot of, like, if you feel it, if you feel across this, it's nice and smooth. If you feel across this, there's just corrosion. So it's just old. And see this around here? That means that there's some compression leaking past this plug. So overall, she's just old. She's just tired. And I understand why, because the plenum, you gotta take that all, that's a pain in the asteroid, right? And so nobody wants to be playing with asteroids. So we're gonna go ahead and change that plug out. And I would like to just change one and then start it and see if everything's better. But you can't do that on this because you got to put the plenum back on. And parts guy just pulled up and my plenum gasket is here. Okay, stupid. Not dielectric grease. My bad. I grabbed the wrong tube. It's supposed to be anti-seize. This is dielectric grease. Let's try that again. Anti-seize. Take 2. Anti-seize. Got the right stuff now. Right? You know, maybe I didn't sleep enough this morning. But anyhow, spark plug, anti-seize tube. Again, this tube will last. I think I bought one tube 20 years ago, and I finally used it up, and I bought this new one a year or 2 ago. And you can see how much I've used. Because you only need a dab, and trust me, you don't want to put more than a dab. The reason being is this stuff is like dog poop, okay? You'll find out, because by the time I'm done with this project, I'm going to have this gray grease all over the place. So it's like stepping in dog poop. No matter where you go, it falls off and touches things and gets on everything. Next thing you know, you go, why do I smell poop? And then you look, and it's on the bottom of your shoe and everywhere else. So same with this stuff. You touch it, we're going to put just a little dab. See, I'm just going to make a bubble. Well, come on, a bubble. I'm going to make a bubble. Okay, I'm going to make a bubble. Alright, what's going on? Because, you know, if I squeeze it hard, it's going to come flying out. And then, wait, okay, bubble. Boop. Okay. See that? Just a little blurb roll on there. And actually, see, that's almost too much now. Trying to suck it back in the tube. There we go. Got it sucked back in. And I forgot what to do with the cap. Okay, put your cap back on because, like I said, it is going to get everywhere. And okay, so we're ready to do it. We're ready to put it in the car now. And see, I didn't have to spread it around because you touch it, trust me, it's going everywhere. So it's going to get there anyway, but that's all you need. I already made the mistake and I accidentally touched it a little bit. I'm going to wipe it on the old pants, but it's going to get everywhere. It's just the nature of the beast. Alright, don't get any on the electrode, by the way. You don't want to put any up in here on the electrode, for sure. And just get it on the threads. You only got to put it on the bottom set because it's going to spread as it goes down. Get her in on there. Stick her down in there. And always, always gap your plugs. And I know you didn't see me do that. And not gonna lie, I didn't do it. It's always a good idea too, though. You know, be better than me. Let's put it that way. I've been doing this so long that I just get lazy. And sometimes it bites me in the old bottissimo. You know what I'm saying? But, there we go. What'd I do with the wrench? You know, there it is. Thank you. Appreciate it. Leonard, I know you're watching. Thank you for telling me where my wrench was. I appreciate it, buddy. Y'all got to read some of Leonard's comments just to appreciate the man. He's a good guy. Keeps me on my toes, you know. All right, we just snug it up. Notice I didn't put a lot of pressure on that. And that's that. Now, that dielectric grease I showed you, it is going to go here. I should have put that on the tip of the spark plug before I put it in, but I'm going to put some dielectric grease on the boot, and that'll help make a better connection there too. And we'll probably put a little bit in here as well, so that we get good connections all the way around. So let me go fetch that now, since I've already opened my mouth and showed it to you. This stuff's not so bad. It's more like, probably more like just petroleum jelly, you know. If you get too much on there, you know, you might get a little on your fingers, but it wipes right off. It's pretty forgiving. I put it on battery terminals and whatever else. So I'm just going to put a blob in the tip here. Just a little bit. That'll go on. Little blob. Well, probably be better off on that end, putting it on the end that is easier to access. So now my truck used to have a bad connection, made my headlights go out. And I pulled it off, pulled the plug off, put some dielectric grease on there and put it back on, and headlights started working. So that's that. Always put your dielectric grease in there. We're going to just go ahead and put this back in. And like I said, I would love to, that was easy. Too easy almost. I would love to just start her up and see how she runs with this. Oh, I guess you got to pull it up a little bit. This is kind of in the way. To get the plug on there. It locks in 6 different ways. And now I can't get it to go on. I don't know what the problem. There we go. I'm trying to put it the wrong way. Push this back in. Ta-da! Look at that. Almost like I knew what I was doing. Except for, you know, I don't. So, whoop. Starting to rain out. I can hear it on the roof. Raindrops keep falling on my head. But I think that means that my feet are too big for my bed. But crying's not for me. No, raindrops make me have to wash the cars that are outside. Because I'm free. Nothing's worrying me. Except for, you know, screwing up on this Cadillac. Because this is my daughter's car. And, you know, if you screw up on your own car and you get stuck on the side of the road, I call the wife, she gets the truck, and I come back and I get the trailer and I haul it away. My daughter breaks down. I've got a 15-year-old girl, 16-year-old girl. She'll be 16 shortly. I'll get a 16-year-old girl stuck on the side of the road, and God only knows what kind of people are going to want to stop and help, shall we say. Now, I don't want that. So we want to make sure that this car is running tippy-toppy. Just for my wife, my daughter's safety. Okay. You know, just, you know, good thing I got the push button so that my socket doesn't fall off. You're right. Thank you, Craftsman. Appreciate the quality of your tools that nobody makes anymore. No lifetime warranty on them, no nothing. They're just going away. Alright, we didn't have to tighten that one up very much. We just kind of gave it a little snuggage. And we have to be careful because, you know, that's not holding on to the socket. And that one's done. So now I'm going to do this 6 more times. But there's not a whole lot of point in leaving the camera running for that because it's just more of the same. But I'll turn her back on, you know, after, you know, 16 hours and 32 minutes and 18 seconds. I'll turn it back on. And we'll put the plenum back on with the new gaskets. And fire this bad boy up. Oh, and make sure we replace, you know, the zip ties, because that's important. I didn't get very far before tragedy strikes. I don't know if you remember what the other coil looked like, but it wasn't like that. What happened is when I pulled it off, the boot came off of the coil instead of the spark plug. So now, I'm trying to get down in here, get a hold of it, and try to get it to come off. There's a springy thingy in there, which we don't want to damage. And that's what we're doing here. Alright, well, I'm going to try to spray a little lube down in there and see if that'll help it loosen up. I don't really like to do that because it's going to end up in the cylinder when I pull the plug out. I sure hope that all of them aren't like this. But see this? This is the boot. It just came out in pieces. I put this in a vise and look, it's literally welded to the plug. It just will not come off of that plug. So I doubt very much they're going to sell a set of boots to, for this car. So you'd probably have to buy a whole coil just for that stupid boot. The spring went flying. It took me, several hours. That might be a minor exaggeration to find it, but I did find it. And now I'm going to have to figure out a way of putting a boot on this thing. I've got a bunch of old spark plug sets and stuff like that, and I'm going to try to see if I can't make something work. I've got enough pieces of this to put it together and see how long it needs to be, roughly what it's going to do. And then there's always black tape, So we'll see what we can come up with, and hopefully we won't be calling the parts store looking for a boot. 3 days later, not quite, maybe an hour, maybe 45 minutes. I don't know. Took some time. This is what I came up with, and it ain't pretty. What I did is I took a spark plug boot off of an old wire set that I had, and I took the original boot that went here, so I could get the spring in, because the boot kind of holds the spring in. So then I kind of wrapped that with tape to kind of hold it in. I put all the pieces together, so the tape's holding the rubber kind of together. It's not ideal, I'll give you that. It's just not. But the spring's in there. You probably can't see it. Nope, you can't see it. But it's in there. So we'll see. Now I'll probably get a Missfire on number 2. I hope to God that the rest of them aren't like this. The first one wasn't. And the first one was the worst plug. This plug actually didn't look that bad. So I'm not really sure what happened there. I'd be tempted to leave the rest of them alone. If too many of them end up like this, I may just do that. The first plug was just plumb wore out. The second plug, well, let's do it this way. The second plug just doesn't look that bad. I don't know if my camera will focus on that or not, but it's really not that bad. You can still see the little nib. The other one, that nib was completely gone, and I can't even tell if this was an AC Delco because you can't get this boot off of here. Let's see, maybe peel it back a little bit. I think it was. But I asked for AC Delcos, and I just noticed that they gave me champions. It's bugs. It's hard to get good help nowadays. It really is. I tried to get my daughter to go work at the parts store, so maybe I'd start getting right parts, And maybe not, I don't know. But she didn't want them. She doesn't want to hustle car parts. She'd rather shuffle burgers. Tips are better, she says. Probably right. But anyway, come on, guys. Parts store people, please, give me the right stuff. Anyway, I'm not going to tell you what parts store. Don't want to do that to nobody. But daggone. Okay, let's see if we can get this. We're going to put plenty of dielectric grease. Now, you can see why we put dielectric grease here and right here. This was kind of tweaky too, so we put the anti-seize. Anti-seize lube and dielectric. Dielectric is anything electric, so this don't happen. And anti-seize is things that you want to take apart later on, like putting it on the plug, because you don't want this getting stuck in an aluminum head and ripping the threads out of that head, and then what? In fact, this screw right here is stripped. When I went to take it off, it was like not even doing anything. Fortunately, this kind of holds itself in, so not a big deal. But, it'd be nice if it worked the way it's supposed to. Anyway, let's finish the rest of these. The coil, the second and third coil, also stuck and came apart. I've still got the rubber down inside on the third one, so I'm letting it soak in some oil, see if I can get it to come loose. Probably not. In the meantime, I figured I'd pull this one out while that's soaking, and this came out. This is the little insert that goes right here that this screws into, which holds this down over the plug. Now, obviously, it's not important because they don't come out anyway. But I'm going to put it back in just because that's just how I am. I'm using JB Weld. I don't know if you've ever used it, but it just comes in 2 tubes. And you just put equal parts of both. And I know that didn't probably look like equal parts, but close enough. And you just mix it up until it's all one color. And then I'll let this set up while I mess around with these other ones. So just get some of that on there. We'll put it on the insert. It's brass, so it probably won't stick, but you know, we do what we can. If it doesn't work, well, it's no worse off than it was, because somebody evidently has been in here before and they foobarred everything. They didn't use anti-seize, they didn't use dielectric grease, they didn't use any of that stuff. But I'm very happy that at least the plugs are coming out so far. Let's knock on wood. So at least the plugs are coming out. That's a plus. Boots we can fix. Plugs we can fix too, but it's a lot harder. This one, I got the wire off already. And hopefully today we'll get done in time, because I want to change the oil on this thing too. So we spun that out of the way. We're going to throw that insert back in there and let that dry. Alright. Now let's see if we can get this coil out of here without busting the boot. Come on, baby. Feels like it's turning, so you got it. I don't know. It's really not good. It just doesn't want to come off those plugs. It's crazy. I've had boots stick on plugs before, but this is taking the cake. Now look, it's just wanting to suck it right back down on there. First one came out okay. This next bunch is just not cooperating. That one's soaking in oil. This one's feeling like it's going to do the same thing. Just going to put some steady pressure on it, not a lot. Kind of bump it a little. Let's see what we can get to happen here. Just kind of spin it. It's not feeling good. Hey! Woohoo! That one came out. Praise the Lord. Thank goodness. Wow. That was not fun. You guys can have these modern cars. I'm going to go back to working on my old stuff. You know? Well, you know, here's the skinny on that. I'll let you see my face when I'm saying this. That way, if anybody gets mad, they can get mad at my face. Here's what it boils down to, folks. Not doing a job properly. I don't know, me saying that, right? Because I rig everything. Well, like my father said, I've said this before, if it only lasts a short time, it was a rig, redneck engineering, whatever you want to call it. But if it lasts a long time, it's an invention, okay? So, but here's what you got to consider. Either you or somebody else that you sell the car to is going to work on it eventually. Eventually, somebody else, maybe me, maybe somebody else, you got a guy, I think 60,000 or 100,000, you change these plugs on this car. There's going to change the plugs on this car. So have a little courtesy for the next guy. Or for yourself, because it might be you, and you don't want to go through this again. So, assuming the next guy is going to work on it, you want to put that dielectric grease on the boot, so they pop right off. Spark plug wires too. This is not just this style car. Spark plug wires, you do the same thing. Dielectric grease on the plugs, anti-seize on the threads of the plugs, or anything that you want to come out later, like the plenum. You don't want that to get jammed up, and especially that one way in the back that you can't hardly get to. You want to make sure that's going in easy, you know, and got some good anti-seize on there. It's not going to come loose unless you loosen it, but you know, have some courtesy for the next guy. Use those products so that you don't end up in a jam later on. That's all I got to say. I'm not, you know, if it hurts your feelings, sorry. But in reality, if I'm the guy coming in behind you, I'm not happy with this. Some ham-handed person who owned this car before me, or some mechanic they brought it to, was too darn lazy to put, or cheap, to put a few little bits of lubricant on those things so the next guy comes in and can work on the thing, you know. And I'm that next guy. So, yep, if I could find him, we just give him one of those, you know. Maybe not. I'm not a violent guy, usually. But, nonetheless, have some courtesy for the next guy, and that next guy might be you, and you will appreciate it if somebody does it for you. So put that stuff on there and make it easy for the next person. Okay? Thanks. I don't know if I showed you this, but this little O-ring right here is torn, and I was like, crap, I need another O-ring. And then I messed up the plenum gasket, so I had to order the plenum gasket, and I was hoping that they would throw these O-rings in there, and they must be mind readers, or they just know that you're gonna tear up just one, you know, because that one's fine. So guess what? They give me an O-ring, but just one. There's another one, but this is a different size and different style, so I don't know where that one goes. Probably somewhere else that I was supposed to mess up and either did and didn't notice, or didn't mess up. But they only give you one. Did I just say that? Didn't give you one. Voice cracked on that one. But they give me one. But one's enough. All I need is one. So, fortunately, I got the gaskets, which are over here. And we'll go ahead and pop them on while y'all are watching. Make sure this is all nice and clean. You know, I used to do machine work for a shop, mold making, years ago, and he said nothing will take dirt and lint off better than your fingers. I know that's weird, but that's what he told me. So we used to wipe everything with our hands, and that's how it worked out. But okay, now this has got a little dowel looking thing, and I'm thinking, is that how it goes? No, that's not how it goes. Let's try it this way. Well, looky there. We got a little dowel looking thingy here. Just push that in there. Well, I think this one's supposed to be on this side because the dowel's facing down. So, let's do... Well, that's not going to work either because now the dowel's facing up on that too. Well, dippity-doo-dah. That dowel's in the wrong way no matter which way I put it. So... let's see what this one says. This one, the dowel is down. Oh, that's backwards too. That one is backwards too. What's up with that? Nope, that's not wrong. That's not. Yes, that's right. Okay. Sort of right. But maybe the dowel goes on the plenum? I don't think so. That just seems dumb. Because it's got the hole right there. So somebody put these little plastic doohickeys in backwards. So I'm going to have to undo them and put them in the other way. Jeez. Here's the old gasket, and there's the pin. I guess whoever they got assembling these gaskets over, you know, where I bought them. Well, not the store, but the manufacturer. And we don't want to badmouth nobody, so I'm not going to tell you who they are. But yeah, they put those little pins in, backwards. So, you know, I had to flip them around. You know, wasn't I just saying, can't people do things right the first time? Like my dad used to say, if you can't do it right the first time, you always get time to do it right the second time. Yep, that's the way it goes. So, here we go. I could have used this gasket again, but we got them all brandy new now. So let's put her together. the plenum bolts. We're going to go ahead and put some anti-seize on each one. Because the next guy, could be me if something goes wrong, get them out a lot easier. So let's see, these shorter ones go here. Oh shoots, I've got it lined up, but where is it? But that back one is the humdinger. So let's go ahead and see if we can't get that one in, because we have to. It won't go in this way. We got to pull. It's got to be in before we line everything else up. So let's take that one back out. Pull this back. And a turner. There we go. Put it in. And then gotta kind of hold it up because we don't want it to tear. Ow! Fingers out. There we go. And we should be able to find some. I think we're on the pins anyway. Let's hope. Let's see if we can get that line back up. Can't see anything, so you just gotta kind of assume you're there, and I'm not. Can't really see nothing. So I don't know. Nothing there. Let's see, one of these long ones. Yeah, nothing. Hitting something. So we're gonna have to finagle. Can't really tell where I'm at or where I'm not. So I'm hoping we can tear the new gasket. Okay, I can kind of see where there. It's on there. Just literally, I can see this bolt here, and it's right in the hole. So I don't know why that one's not lining up. Maybe don't make no sense. Maybe something's stopping it. I don't know. Somebody's blowing something up nearby. I don't know what that is, but this feels like it's right. And that bolt back there is lined up. So why this one's not, I don't know, unless the gasket moved. Let's see if we can. Nope, gasket looks fine. It's hitting something. Let me take a look-see in here. This has to come this way somewhat. I don't get it. I think that's it right there. That is it. Gee. Oh, sure, that was just great. She's in there. She felt more settled before. There's that back one. And you see I put that anti-seize on there, and look, she's going down easier than she came out, that's for sure. Alright, now, rule of thumb is never, ever, ever, I mean, ever, never, tighten all the bolts until you get them all started. Because if you're off even a tiny, tiny bit, the other ones won't line up. So you want to get them all started, get them all down about halfway, and then go ahead and sock them up. Well, I cleaned that one too. just start that with well? Moment of truth. Get ready to start it. Got everything in, everything hooked up, I think. Oh, wait, I lied. I've got the hose pulled out. When I hooked it up in the front, it pulled out of the PCV area in the rear, so we'll fix that for a minute. But now I'm going to start it. So, back's killing me, legs are killing me. This was, leaning over this long front end. You think working on Corvettes, I'd be used to that, but they actually open the hood the other way, so you kind of work from the side. But this thing's got long. It doesn't look it, but when you're working on them back bolts, it's out there. But anyhow, we're going to go ahead and fire this thing up. Keep our fingers crossed. Prayers always help. Make sure everything's good. The plenum's kind of a booger because you can't really see to make sure it's lined up. You don't know if you boogered your gasket when you're putting it on. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of modern cars. They run fantastic. They get way better mileage, and they got tons more performance at a more economic cost. So, gotta love them for that. But, golly, they're annoying to work on, especially probably more because I just don't know what I'm doing. I've been working on 80s and under cars for most of my life, if not all of my life. So to work on something more modern than that, it's a learning experience for me. Hopefully, whatever mistakes I made, you will learn by. Now, there's been somebody in here before me. They boogered up a bunch of stuff. There were those little inserts you saw me JB weld one of those back in, but there were like 3 that were missing. Couldn't JB weld them, but I fixed the one. But those really aren't coming out because the plenum covers them up, so it's not really a necessary item, and that plug, thing, it's not going anywhere. So it's not really a big deal. But, I'd rather fix it right if I can. We're going to change on the oil. I'm going to see what time it is. I might change on the oil, but I got to move the old Corvette off of the lift here so I can get on it, and that won't take long. But I'm going to see if we're running good first, and then we're going to change the oil. So hang in there. It'll be a whole nother video changing the oil because, one thing at a time, folks. And that way people can look it up on a title. If they want to change the oil on their CTS, then they'll look up the how-to on the oil. And if they want to take on the plugs, hopefully they didn't have ham-handed Harry in there like I did before they get to it, because whoever he was, he just glued everything in. He probably, I don't know if he put gasket sealer on. I've never seen spark plug boots weld to the plug like that. I've had them stick pretty good, and I've had them tear when they're coming off, but you were always able to twist them off. Not this time. This thing, you saw, I showed it to you. It was literally welded on there. I was prying on it, and I couldn't even after ripping it, I couldn't peel it off. It was insane. So, but the other one was better. It did rip, that one I showed you, but I was able to get that one off. It did rip the top a tiny bit, but I was able to put that one back together with some tape, just like I did the other. But I didn't have to make one out of the, spark plug boot. But anyway, let's see if all this that I just did even works. If it doesn't, I may not even air this, because what's the point in, I guess it still shows you how. But I'm pretty sure that plug was really worn, that number 1 plug. A couple of them had oil in the galley, which means the valve cover's leaking around that spark plug, but nothing in the cylinder. The plugs looked great. That first one, that one that's misfiring, was really worn. Had one other one that looked a little bit corroded. A couple of that showed some corrosion, but most of them looked pretty good. That explains why the car was running so well, with the exception of that misfire when it was cold. But now with all brand new plugs, we should be able to go, 60, 100,000 miles before changing them again, because they're double platinum, not just platinum, but double platinum. Okay. Anyhow, let's fire it up. If everything's good, we're going to put the fancy cover back on, because, it says Cadillac. Hey. And then we're going to take the old Corvette up off of this lift. We'll get her off of there. And we'll get this thing up there and do an oil change. And that way there'll be 2 videos for you all out there that have Cadillacs. Not a new one, I told y'all I'm going to do that video on the value of these cars, what they're worth and what I paid for them, and just with a little bit of work, how you too can own pretty darn cool cars for very little money. So, yep, you got to have some ability. You got to be willing to get your hands dirty. But you can own some pretty sweet cars. Now, one of my favorite shows is Hoovie's Garage, but I ain't got his kind of money, so I don't own those kind of cars. But unlike him, I can fix my own. So, But nonetheless, we'll do that video eventually, probably when it starts getting colder, and I can't do, it's going to hold me back from doing some other things. But we got to finish up this Cadillac this weekend. My daughter just hopefully got a new job. She had an interview. Hopefully she's going to get it. She gets a new job, she's got to have dependable transportation to get there. So here we go. Let's see what if she fires up. Ran a little crappy at first. I think that's probably due to the fact that oil from me spraying down the spark plugs, I believe that's what made it run like that at first. Plus maybe there wasn't enough fuel pressure yet. But she's running sweet now. Listen to that. Look, you can't even, there's barely you can feel that it's running. But let's go listen in the back and see how she sounds back there. Listen to that. Sounds a lot better than it did the first time, doesn't it? A little bit of smoke coming out. I think that's just steam. Might be a little bit of oil that I spilled in the spark plug holes, and that's just got to burn out. But she sounds fantastic. I'm pretty happy. Yay, we can put the fancy cover back on, and we'll see what time it is, and maybe I'll change the oil. We'll see. What's the paint? Pretty once again. I'm going to keep this short and sweet. Nobody really likes to hear me talk, right? So please, yeah, let me try that. Take two. Please subscribe. Get a little tongue-tied sometimes. Please subscribe. Helps a guy out. Trying to get 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And I'm at 3 something. Hopefully, it'll go up from there. But, hopefully we get to do this more often. The more subscribers I get, the more often I can do this. So if you like my videos, do me a favor and subscribe. And keep watching them, of course. Tell your friends, and they'll tell 2 friends to get back to the Clear Oil commercial. But there's I showed a video of what my projects are, my current projects. This was one of them, but not what we did today. This just manifested, and unfortunately I've got to maintain my vehicle. So that's part of life. You don't always get what you want. It's not a song. You can't always get what you want. Of course, you got to move real weird and look like a Jagger, which, yeah, not happening. Anyhow, I'm gonna do a little quickie, some work on the Corvette. Take it off this ramp. I'm gonna get this Cadillac up here, and we're gonna change on the oil. And sometimes people who own Cadillacs may not know how to change their oil. I've got a friend who buys a Porsche, brand new Porsche, like every year, and he couldn't change the tire if he had to. So if you got that kind of money, fantastic. But I didn't pay a lot for this car. It's a nice car, but I didn't pay a lot for it. Very little. I will blow your mind when I tell you how much I paid for this car, plus all my other ones. So you'll have to stay tuned for that video. But in the meantime, thank you for watching, folks. Please subscribe. See ya.